Folks, welcome back or welcome to Conversations. We are your host, Ben.
And I'm Ryan.
And today we have a very, very special guest in the pod. We have founder and owner of Boo's Philly Cheesesteak, an LA staple. From Philly to LA, we have Andy on in the pod.
Hey, welcome.
Conversations, Andy.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Glad to have you. Bro, so you are from Philly.
That's correct.
Right? But you've been living in LA for how long now?
21 years.
21 years.
So that's what, 21?
21 years is 21 years.
But 2002.
Why can't I? Are you trying to do math?
2002.
2002.
Yeah.
It says 2002.
I don't know.
Are you okay?
The tequila hit
Is
me a
that the
little bit
tequila
fast.
talking?
Yeah, it hit me a little fast. I had dinner.
So you've been here since 2002.
Yeah,
2002. That's correct. I actually came here on my birthday, 2002.
Okay, what brought you out here? What was the initial I need to be in LA? And you were born and raised in Philly?
So I was born outside of Philly in Jersey, like 30 minutes outside of Philly, and then I grew up in the Philly area, in the city, and then outside the city. And to make a long story short, I ended up going to boarding school. Lived in France for my junior year of high school.
Why were you
France?
in boarding school? Hold on, what? Let's take it back.
Yeah.
Let's not glaze over these things, man.
So
What were you up to?
my mom was very strict growing up. Like when I'm talking about strict, she was. She's a tiger mom, right? So my mom was intent on getting me the best education, and living in the city was not gonna help her get me the best education. So we moved to the suburbs, and then when I moved to the suburbs, I think I was in 4th grade. She was, this is not going to be enough, right? So she had me apply to a bunch of boarding schools. My 8th grade year, I didn't get into any of them. And then my 9th grade year, I applied for a couple other schools, and I got into this school called the Hill School, which is about an hour and a half outside of Philadelphia. And it was an all-boys boarding school at the time. And ended up going there. I did pretty well in school, except for I got a C in French.
C in French.
So you were a good kid in school? You weren't a troublemaker?
So boarding school, it was a prep school.
Oh, okay.
So I had to wear a suit and tie, like a blazer and tie every day. It was like living in the movie, not This Boy's Life.
Or like the
school ties?
Not School Ties.
Scent of a Woman.
No, it's the one with
woman, what?
Yeah, there's
Carpe
boys.
Diem, Robin Williams.
Oh, Dead Poet Society.
Dead Poet Society.
Yes,
that was my
great
school.
film.
Literally, it was
Great
like that
film. Okay.
whole
Yes.
lifestyle where I had there was no girls. It was all boys school. We had sit down dinners and lunches where we had to pass the plate and ask with manners and whatnot, which was crazy for me because I never grew up like that. A lot of ultra rich kids. I think I mentioned to you, Donald Trump Jr. was a senior and Eric Trump was in 8th grade, I think, at my school.
While you were there?
While I was there.
Oh, wow.
So I went to a crazy school. My parents, my mom, she went above and beyond to try and get me the best education that I can possibly get. And so I was really, thankful for that. So my sophomore year, I did really well, except for in French. I got all A's and C in French. It ruined my GPA. My school was kind of crazy. I'll tell you about my school. So at the end of every trimester, they put all of our GPAs up in the middle of the school. So you knew who was 4.2.
Oh, man.
And you know who 2.0 was.
And the names are attached to it.
Names are attached to it.
Dang.
So literally, at the end of every trimester, everyone went to see where they were. You were either number 1 or number 45.
Was it like the people who were at number 1 cooler or more popular?
No, it was you had respect though. It was the smarter kids.
I guess that's a motivation for you to be like, yo, I'm not trying to be the last guy. Right?
No, it definitely made me, because there was no girls. You didn't have to worry about impressing girls and being crazy. You just had school, so you're like, all right, cool. Might as well just do homework and do well in class. I mean, there was really there's no other thing to distract you from. I was living on campus, so my class was 2 minutes away. My English class was 7 people, so you couldn't miss
college.
class.
Oh.
So that was my experience my sophomore year. And then while my sophomore year was going out, like I said, I was getting a C in French. So I was horrible at it for some crazy reason. And then they had this program called School Year Abroad. So I applied to that program, got in. I haven't got a scholarship, so it was actually cheaper to go to France for the year.
So you went to France?
So I went to France my junior year of high school, which was not the best year to go, but I was like, this is an opportunity, why not? So I got to go live in France. Lived with a French family for a whole year. My French brother, he was an adopted Korean guy.
Oh.
He was our town drug dealer, which was kind of interesting.
A what?
He was our town drug dealer.
Town drug dealer.
Yeah, I lived in this little. So my city I lived in is called Rennes, outside Rennes. It was called Liffré, and the city, it was like 30 minutes from. So Rennes is like 2 hours away from Paris, and then the town I lived in was like 30 minutes outside of this town. So it was kind of boondocky, and in that town, my French brother, the only Korean guy, I got placed in his house, and he was the only one that, we're the only 2 Asians in town at that point. And it was hilarious. He knew everyone. He sold drugs. It was hilarious. But I was also on the basketball team in that town, and he was friends with all the basketball players. So they all smoked weed. We were always hanging out after basketball practice or after the games. The cool thing was at 16, you can drink there. So I was at the bar at 16, going to the bar, having a beer, having a drink. So it's kind of cool.
Literally, that sounds like a movie that I've seen on like Netflix or something.
Like Green Street Hooligans.
Yeah,
or something?
something like they like get sent to, like Fast and Furious too. Like you get sent to Japan and like.
But see, no, like when you were saying that you got sent to boarding school, maybe because I watched too many movies, like you think that like you're a troublemaker, so your parents sent you off. But that wasn't the case for you. Your parents were just like.
Probably sent you off so you wouldn't become a
education you're gonna get is in a boarding school.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's like more of a prep school, like Andover, Exeter, Choate Rosemary Hall, Lawrenceville, St. Andrews. Like these schools are elite, where the elite kids all go to high school. Like Andover, Exeter, Choate, up in Northeast, so like they're like Harvard feeders, Yale feeders. Basically, like they basically have students that go there to this high school to go to these schools. It's where the ultra rich send their kids, and the ultra rich send their kids to make sure they get into Harvard, Yale, Princeton, whatever, and they feed them. So that's what these schools do, because you're not only getting a great education. Well, I don't know now, but I'm saying when I was there, that was what you knew would happen, is that you would get into these institutions and you'd be connected because, you went to this school, you went to Hill, and then you went to Penn or whatever.
Like these guys go into like politics or some kind of
exactly. And you want to have that,
or
that lineage of, you went to this high school, you went to this college, and you'll see that with a lot of politicians as well.
Yeah.
So what happened from, so you're in France, you're doing the thing, you're like getting a good education, but what was the thing that you felt like you were leaning towards in terms of your future? Did you already have a plan at this point of like, I'm gonna go pursue this career path, or were you still just in exploration mode? Like, what was that?
So my sophomore year, I thought I was gonna end up like going to Harvard or something. Like I got brainwashed, straight up brainwashed. Yeah. Not in a bad way, but it was like,
I mean, that's the plan, right? Like you do this so that you can go there. Yeah.
So like, because you're in an environment where everyone's like, I'm going to Harvard, I'm going to Yale, I'm going to this, I'm going to, you're in that environment. So then you get competitive and like, this guy got like a 3.7, shoot, I got to get a 3.8, So this kind of environment. So my sophomore year, I was like, all right, I'm going to go to France and do well, do my thing, come back for my senior year, do my thing, do well, and then apply to a good school and get into whatever, Columbia, whatever it was, right?
Did you have a strength in terms of academia? Were you more of like a math guy? Were you
not a French guy, apparently.
Apparently not a
French guy. But what was your strength academically?
I think I was going to go towards business. Okay. I feel like that was going to be my line. It just seemed like the right thing to do. My dad, growing up, he opened up a bunch of different types of businesses, and he worked in deli, cheesesteak spots. That was his first job in Germantown in Philly. He owned a deli, pizza, cheesesteak joint in Jersey. He owned like a bunch of clothing stores in Philadelphia, like 6 or 7 he opened up over
Sick.
Yeah, they were all like, all in the hood.
Yeah. We can picture exactly what.
Like cross colors, champions,
all the era that we
like the Looney Tunes in like baggy clothes.
Those were
you remember those?
That's what my dad was selling. So seeing that growing up, I was like, I gotta get into business. You have the ability to control your destiny in a lot of ways. I just felt business was probably going to be the right route for me. And then I get to France. And I had started having fun. It was fun. Why am I going to be here
right. Yeah.
and study? And it was crazy. I was like one of the only Asian kids in this whole little town. I go to school. And, I had incidences, whatever, with, race and racism a little bit. But I was like the exotic guy, and so the girls loved it. And the best part about French culture, you guys, you have to understand when you see someone, especially like you meet with your friends, you're kissing.
Yeah.
Kiss.
Uh-huh.
I loved it.
Oh.
It was dope.
Yeah.
You'll see a girl like Sophie or whatever, and like as soon as you see her, you gotta do your kiss. You gotta say hi, and you just end up talking, having fun, going to the bars. Like you say, hey, let's go hang out at the bar after class. Couldn't do that when you're 16 in America, right?
True.
So I got a chance to live a different lifestyle that I never thought I was gonna live. It was so much fun, and the types of people I met, I got to hang out with, just a bunch of French people. I became fluent in French.
Sure, you're fluent.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now
that was my next move.
So now I got bad at it for the last like 20 years, but I've been taking classes recently, so I'm getting back to I'm like 90% there.
So if you were to go to France, you're gonna be able to survive fine.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I watch
yeah.
TV shows in French and all that stuff.
Oh, that's wild.
So
that's cool.
I got fortunate with that. It was really cool. And while I was in France, I discovered that, man, there is a bigger world out there. It's not just academics. It's not just getting straight A's. There's different things that are going on. I think my biggest epiphany while living in France was that we had this romanticized view of France, right? Oh my goodness, love and l'amour and like Paris and all this stuff. Yeah, whatever. But when you live there, they have the same problems as we do. They have immigration problems. They have people just trying to make a living, And it was reality for me. Like, and it was funny too, because people were like, you could buy a bottle of champagne for like $10, and it's over here, it's like the same bottle is like $40, because you put the tax on there, but you put that whole like French tax on it. So the French, I learned from them how they did a phenomenal marketing job, whether it's Yves Saint Laurent, like Louis Vuitton, like with the products that you're selling, they just do a better marketing job, at least at that time. Now, when I saw that, like in my eyes, I was like, hey, in America, we see France as like this, oh my God, you see Louis Vuitton, and you're like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You get there, and it's like, most of the people don't wear LV.
Yeah.
They're trying to make a living,
Yeah.
And so that was a real big kind of eye-opening experience for me to be there and see that. And I learned a lot about myself because I didn't think I was going to be able to speak French. In fact, I was probably one of the worst French-speaking people there. But by the time I left, I was probably one of the better ones. Just because I didn't have bad habits. So a lot of people that were there, they spoke French much better than me, but they had bad habits from America.
I see.
Whereas I was more of a blank slate. So it was easier for me to learn, absorb the language much better. Now, I didn't do well in school, obviously, because I was having fun.
Yeah. In France.
Yeah, I was in France. I got to see different parts of France, got to eat really good food, hang out with my family. And it was a really awesome experience. It was probably one of the best.
How long was that season?
It was a whole school year, my whole junior year of high school.
Okay, so then did you end up going to college?
So I came back, and so when I returned back from France, I found out my parents went bankrupt. My family went bankrupt.
Whoa.
And I told my parents, I explained to them, hey, there's no reason for me to go back to my senior high school. We don't have the money. I'll go to public school. Let me just finish off that year at our local public school. There's no need to spend extra money on me. And then my mom was like, no, you're going to have to go to Hill and finish it off. Because, as a parent, you want your kid to go to Harvard, whatever. And that was pretty hard for me to deal with at the time, because I thought that, hey, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm putting more extra burden on my family. And I told myself, you know what? Like, this is not a good thing. And I was stressed out my senior year. I messed up. I pretty much fucked up my senior year. But fortunately, I got into American University in D.C. So that was like my quote-unquote safety school. American University, great school. Known for their poli-sci, like law in D.C. So I decided to go there. My mom forced me, so I had to go. I was hoping to take a gap year. They call it gap year now.
Yeah.
But I was hoping to do that year. But my mom was insistent, you got to go to college. It was more of a saving face kind of thing for her, I think. She wanted to make sure she didn't go to church and, oh, where's your son doing? Oh, he's taking a year off, right?
Yeah.
So freshman year comes along. Once again, I just did what I did. I had a good time.
That's what
Look
happened.
what you're
It's
doing.
what
Though.
happens.
Yeah, business.
Well,
You did something right.
At the
you know?
time,
What was your Did you have a declared major already? Were you like, I'm gonna go into business?
I was hoping to go into international business. I figured since I spoke French, my Korean was okay at the time, so I was like, might as well just
right.
go do that.
Yeah.
And so my freshman year, messing around. Sophomore year, messing around. I took a semester off, I believe, and worked at T.G.I.Fridays as a busser. Became a waiter.
Mm-hmm.
Had a good. That was T.G.I.Fridays was fun.
Shout out T.G.I.Fridays.
T.G.I.Fridays,
man. I love
baby.
T.G.I.Fridays.
I could always see how you have that. You got that East Coast, accent. You got that thing, that swag. That I guess
It
you
works.
would probably.
It
yeah,
works.
And
okay.
T.G.I.Fridays was fun, man. It was a good time.
All my waiter jobs were a lot of fun.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun.
But yeah, when I went to France in 2018 with my family, and definitely what you're saying, like what you think, Eiffel Tower and this and that, but it was like hood most of the time. Hood, it's graffiti.
Really, I've never actually been. So in my mind, it's
Graffiti.
still so romantic.
No, like it's. I mean, it is romantic. Don't get me wrong. Like I was there by myself with my mom and dad and stuff. So
Well, I guess it's context.
it
then.
wasn't
You
romantic.
there with your
No,
parents.
no, don't get me wrong. Like I was like, man, if Vera was here, this would be really romantic, But she opted to stay here to work and stuff because she needed to work at her old company. But anyways, it was there and like literally you're like, oh, this is beautiful. Oh, these are the nice like the landmarks and the chapels and the cathedrals, and like you just keep walking and then you turn the corner and it's like hood, like it's just like there's graffiti and you're like, whoa, shoot, it looks a little sketch.
Wow, I don't know. Yeah, for some reason, like I don't imagine graffiti in
Graffiti,
Paris.
yeah, there's a lot actually, but it's cool because it's kind of like hip hop is kind of big there, right?
Also
Like
tight too, then.
and breaking and stuff like that, that hip hop culture. So I feel like certain areas they kind of just leave it for them to just like present.
What are you gonna do, man? Like, I mean, culture, it'll bleed over to where it bleeds over. I think that's actually like the beauty of hip hop and things like that. But like, so for you, when you realize, okay, like I have this, you had this like expectation for you to be this great person. And your parents put you in boarding school. They wanted you to go to Ivy League and all of that. And I'm not downplaying at all what you're doing now. But I think even for you, it sounds like you were like, I need to go do something great because why else would my parents put all this, time, effort, money, schooling into my life, and then you were like, I'm gonna go open up a Philly cheesesteak restaurant in LA, and I'm not making fun of that. No. I think it's dope.
Yeah,
but it doesn't sound like your parents' plan for you, at least mom's plan for you, right?
Well, yeah.
So how did you decide that, like, you know what, this is the route that I'm gonna take, and not do this like glorified, wow, my son's Ivy League and doctor, astronaut, whatever the freak.
He might be a senator right now by now, or like
maybe
a congressman.
No, so that was a different. The cheesesteak thing is like a whole different stage in my life, and it's like a whole era where it was completely different from that time frame where I was in Philadelphia or then when I was in France. I was a completely different kid back then. Obviously, we're all different at that time. But in college, I was completely lost. I was just lost. I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do in my life. I thought I wanted to do something, but I spent a lot of time. We didn't grow up with that much money, so a lot of my parents' money went to education. They spent a lot of money for trying to get me to school, and one thing that got me through a lot of those tough moments was the ability to watch a movie, going to Blockbuster, picking up movies. Yep. I could just go. I did. That was my first job, dude. Yeah. You said you worked there for a week? Yeah, I worked there for a week.
You're like, forget this.
You know what's funny? I in my first week of working there, I was like, I'm quitting. I'm like, I am not doing this for like another week. And I stayed for like 2.5
And then he ended up he literally watched every single movie in there.
Bro, because I was like, you get 5 free rentals a week. Like, why would I give this up? Because I love movies.
Yeah, he was. When I met you, I was like, this guy knows way more than I thought I knew about.
You know what it was? Because if you work there, you have to carry these stacks of videos and put them back on the shelf. And as I'm doing that, I would like you have to turn these movie the boxes for the videos. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know Denzel Washington was in this movie called Mississippi Masala.
We didn't have internet then.
I just learned a lot. I was like, wow, I didn't know Denzel Washington. And then like Mel Gibson did a movie that like when he was like super young, and so you just like learn about stuff. But anyway, like that.
Sorry, I didn't mean
Shout
to
out
throw us off,
Blockbuster
yeah.
Video.
I worked at Blockbuster, but I felt like it was such a boring job. I needed interactions with people.
Yes.
And I think that's where I think right after I got a job at T.G.I.Fridays. And even though it was a busing job, I was able to work with people and, hey, I'm the busser, so the waiter tells me to go and clear the table, take it to the back, take it to the dish pit, set it all up, bring the stuff out, bring the drinks out, cool. And it was funny. I had a friend of mine, his name was Sunil. He was a busser, me and him. This guy like came to America to marry, I guess, and another Indian woman. And this guy had like the thickest glasses. Yo, every time I looked at him, his eyeballs were like this big. Bro. But me, him, and me, we just became cool. Like, it just met someone that was so different from me. But we would bust tables together. I would drive him home.
Cool.
He didn't have a car, whatever. I had this broken old minivan, a caravan, like a maroon caravan with the middle seat taken out. But it was a wait, because, if you're at Blockbuster, I think I worked at the sneaker line, too. Was it sneaker line or one of the sneakers? So first.
What's
it called?
Foot Action? Or
Foot Action.
Finish
No,
line.
Finish line.
Finish line.
There
I
you
worked
go.
there and I was like, this is boring because, like, during the week, Monday through Friday, no one's at the mall.
Yeah.
During the day, especially.
During the day, no one's there. So
Right.
all you're doing is just putting stuff away. And so for me, that was really boring. So T.G.I.Fridays was awesome because I worked my way up to waiter. And then you're making tips. So that's what happened. But yeah, I mean, going back to the school stuff, I was like completely lost. That was actually the reason why I took a semester off and I was working at home. And that's when I was working at T.G.I.Fridays. And then I went back to school. And then when I went back to school, I was thinking along the lines of movies. Like I was taking some movie classes. I think I took a course called Oliver Stone's America.
Like production, like being on the production side, or
like directing, producing stuff. But I wasn't quite sure. But I was like, hey, films were where I wanted to be at. It seemed like that's the direction I wanted to go. Because like I said, I watched so many movies over time.
Yeah.
And it was a great way to escape. And I got an opportunity to take some classes while I was at American University. And so one day I applied for a program. I applied for an internship in New York City. And it was a internship at Scott Rudin's. So Scott Rudin at the time was producing, not South Park. He was producing Changing Lanes and Zoolander. Zoolander with
Yeah.
what's his name?
Ben Stiller.
Yeah, Ben Stiller and Changing Lanes with the Nick Nolte.
No, it was Ben Affleck.
Oh, okay.
It was Ben Affleck, wasn't it? So I got this internship, which was like amazing. It was not paid. I told my mom, and she kicked me out the house. So I couldn't come home from school that winter because I was going to drop out of college. So I ended up taking the train up to New York City because my boy Stefan Kim, shout out to Stefan Kim, ABC 7 News, New York City. He's the homie.
Let's go.
He let me stay at his place, and I was able to, go through with all the internship stuff. And after about a month, I was like, I need money. So I ended up moving out to Fort Lee, Jersey, in North Jersey. And I'm skipping a bunch of stuff there because I don't want to get in the weeds about everything. But I ended up going to work in North Jersey for a while, worked at some restaurants, bars, and stuff like that. And then my dad, he was living in Korea at the time. He was trying to start up this putt-putt thing going on in Korea. So he was trying to promote and bring a miniature golf to Korea. This is like 2000, 2001.
Okay.
So he was hustling. Like he lost his business. All these bad things went down after the bankruptcy. He went out to Korea and was doing this thing. And he's like, hey, I need some help. You want to come out and stay with me? And I was like, I ain't doing shit. So I decided to just drop the stuff I was in New York City. The internship didn't work out. It was cool. I was there for like a month or something like that. But then I moved to Korea and I was working there with my dad and I wasn't making any money. But fortunately, I had a friend, her mom knew someone. And essentially, I got a job working in Korea. I was getting paid cash on the table for a film distribution company, the small one. I was getting paid like $900 or $1,000 a month. So I ended up, I thought I was just going to help with translating, nothing crazy. And next thing you know, I produced like the first online film festival at the time.
Wow.
Which was cool. I had to put out a word on the internet, get films sent over to me from all over the world, organize it, we uploaded it, people could watch it, people could vote on it, and things of that nature. So that's what I did. So I was working for this company, and for me, at a 21-year-old kid, I was doing stuff that I never thought I'd be doing at 21.
Yeah.
They had put a lot of pressure on me to do this, and obviously it was cheap. You know, they got cheap labor out of me, which is all good. I was down for it. And then one day I got a chance to come to LA on a business trip with my boss. And long story, the trip was amazing. I met some cool people. The girls out here are phenomenal. You know, LA girls, you know, that stereotype is true. And that was fun. But I got to go to Warner Brothers in Burbank and sit in with an exec at Warner Brothers Home Video. I'm 21 years old, and my boss, and I'm translating for my boss and the VP of home video at Warner, which is crazy. At 21 years old, I had no experience, didn't have anything. So I was like, I'm going to come to LA, 100. So went back. The company went under after a couple months, and then I got laid off. I ended up teaching English for like a month, saved up some money, went back to Philly, got my shit together. I bought a one-way ticket, 3 bags, G in my pocket that I saved up. Didn't know, I had one person that I knew. She picked me up from the airport, and my first place, I was at a hostel on 6th and Oxford. Wow. That's how I started in LA, 2002.
6th and Oxford.
Okay, so you're now here in LA. You got a G in your pocket, 3 bags packed up, living in a hostel. What was the game plan?
Figure it out. So that was my game plan.
What was the first move then?
So the first move, I had to get a job.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was I paid the $500 for the hostel, and I'm living on the floor. Didn't know anyone. I'm like, I got to figure this shit out ASAP. So I walked around K-Town for like 4 days, looking for a job, any job, whatever job. And my first job I got was at I Love Boba.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
But the first one at the time was at where Pumsan is right now. Right where Love Hours?
Yes.
At Pumsan, that used to be I Love Boba. So that was my first job I had. And I started there working, boba, coffee, whatever. And that's how I started in LA. Just getting like a little...
Boba shop.
Yeah, boba shop. And then there's like a whole nother phase in my life started, right? So I met some very interesting people. Actually, my 2 friends, I'm friends with them till this day. And I met them about a month or 2 in. I worked at this bar called Point. Got a job at this place called Point, where Parao is now. Okay. Right where Starbucks and Radio Korea is at right now underneath.
Yeah.
At the Aroma, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then that time period was kind of crazy. That's when I met PK. Because PK was, very well known in Koreatown.
Yeah, he was the mayor of K-Town,
bro.
The mayor of
We all met him around the same time.
I remember I lived in this place called The Real World. It was this place, it was a party house pretty much, and half of K-Town came through there.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was.
Where was this?
It was on Washington and St. Andrews.
Oh, what?
It was on the 2nd floor. It was back in 2003.
You lived there?
I lived there with 4 roommates I just met, which was kind of crazy.
Oh, so you guys were like the Korean real world.
It was like the real world.
I was like, the real
So
world.
sorry to skip that part. So it was the
Yeah.
Korean real world. It just kind of happened where I met a couple girls while I was working at I Love Boba. We just knew the same people.
Right.
And they're like, hey, why don't you come out and hang out and have a drink? And I was like, shoot, I have no friends. Why not? So they introduced me to their friends, and all of a sudden I met all these different people in Koreatown. And then I was like, I can't stay at this hostel forever.
Right.
So we ended up moving into this place a couple months later, and it was just a craziness in terms of partying. I didn't know anyone, but people would be partying up to like 4 o'clock in the morning. I would be asleep because I had to go to work the next day.
Right.
I would wake up and it would be a whole new group of people.
Just like you have never met?
I've never met.
Oh, my God.
Y'all just legit lived in a party house.
It was
Actually,
wild.
maybe at the time I liked it, but...
And so, I mean, one of these days we'll get into those stories, but it was just mayhem. But for me, I was really focused. I was like, all right, cool. I came here with the goal of working in the film industry. So like I said, I was working 2 or 3 jobs. I was going to school. I still tried to party when I could, but I never had money. I couldn't go out. But when I did, it was VR. It was Bobos or Valkyrie.
all the classics.
The classic,
Yeah, yeah.
Clubs. That was fun. And I think at some point I ended up becoming a commodities broker, got licensed with my Series 3.
What the?
Exactly. I was working as a commodities broker for about 1.5 years, 2 years up in Miracle Mile. I was working for...
Was there any money in that?
So my young, he was the one that introduced me because he needed like an assistant. So my job was to make phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
My job was to just make phone calls.
Like cold calling?
Yeah, cold
like
calling. Yeah, exactly. Because we were doing commodities trading, trading Forex, trading gas contracts, trading everything from pork to gold to futures contracts for the S&P and stuff like that. So I got Series 3 licensed, and then I was doing that for a while. And then I had another friend, Hyung, who actually asked me if I wanted to work part-time at America's Next Top Model as a logger.
Okay.
Yeah. Hold on. Wait.
Just another left turn.
Wow. I thought it was just like
this guy's like
came
the
to
most
Philly. From Philly.
No, yeah.
I think
the
we
thing,
met the Renaissance man of
Nah,
our generation,
just-
dude.
nah.
He just does everything.
I just lived. I'll tell you this. I lived. Man, life was crazy and it was fun.
So don't tell me you ran across
How
me.
old are you right now?
I'm
Like
26.
okay.
I'm 26. So the first 3 years in LA was crazy. I was working whatever job I could do to survive. I got the job as a commodities broker. I wasn't feeling it at the time, but I got the Series 3 license. I didn't know what we were going to do. I got a part-time. I was offered a job to work at America's Next Top Model as a night logger. So your job was to watch videotape and just log.
Them in their...
Yeah, like you would literally watch the VHS and be like, Michael is taking his shirt off.
Oh, so you're like at the
you're
timestamp.
logging.
So you're like,
logging
this
everything,
happens
yeah.
at this timestamp.
And
Yeah.
Cynthia says, "Ooh, that," you know what I'm saying? And so you have to write this down descriptively so they could pull it later for the
Cindy's
episode.
titties are out.
Right.
Exactly, right? So you had to be as descriptive as... I mean, it was cycle 6, I think, and I think it was the season when that Korean girl was on there. That was the first one I worked on. So I worked there for like 1 or 2 seasons, and then I met another girl that was working there. She worked at the Real World.
Okay.
So I got a job we made some good relationships. And that's another thing I learned out here in LA, man. It was just make good relationships with people. Yeah. Just be honest.
I mean, that's not even LA. That's just life.
Yeah.
But LA is so like small knit and close knit that it's just
well, yeah, if you want to like...
You really got to...
The entertainment industry is very much like, who you know and all that. But yeah.
Well, I think LA is like a really, like, it's a small, big town.
Yeah.
Like, you would think 9 million or 10 million people in LA, but it's crazy how it's like the degree of separation is so small.
Yeah.
And so reputations can really travel, good or bad, can travel so quickly here. And I learned that. But, fortunately, I was able to make some good friends and make some good relationships. And then I was able to work at the Real World. I worked on that for like 3 seasons.
How funny is that? You lived in the Korean Real World and then
you,
you worked on the actual
real
Like
world.
no idea of all these little pieces that kind of...
You're just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
cool.
So it was crazy. I still look back and I'm like, dang, I can't believe I lived at the Real World. And then I worked on the Real World.
That's hella funny.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right, so then, okay, let's maybe jump a couple steps because, like, bro, so Boo's Philly Cheesesteak, I see it all the time. Driving down Wilshire. I also live in Echo Park, and I'm like, yo, they got one in Silver Lake.
On Virgil,
and so I feel like it's a LA kind of staple thing, but from what I understand, it's not easy to bring in a cultural element from, like, let's just say, like, if you're in LA, like, are you gonna really find like really dope New York pizza? It's hard, right? You gotta find the right places. But when I tried Boo's for the first time, because I've been to Philly and I'm like, I went to Geno's and Pat's, and there's that argument of like, which one's better, right? Which one's the more legit one? And I would have actually loved to hear, because I'm not from Philly, so I don't feel like I even have a hat in the ring there. But, like, how did you decide that, like, you were going to bring such a cultural thing that you grew up with in Philly, being in LA, having all these odd jobs from Blockbuster Video to America's Top Model to, like, being a commodities broker to, like, you did everything. But you landed on, I'm going to do Philly cheesesteaks. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like you have this broad spectrum of choices because I mean, bro, I mean, you're clearly a very bright and talented dude. You're a translator.
Yeah.
You were like doing all these things, so you could have chosen anything.
Anything.
And then you were like, Philly cheesesteaks is what it is. Like that's so interesting to me. And I don't I need to like preface this is like I'm not looking down as like, yo, you chose the lowbrow thing. I'm not doing that. I think I don't want to put words into your mouth, but to me, I'm like, it seems like you chose the thing that felt closest to your heart.
Well, that's why I was trying to preface as much as I could about what I was doing before, because I wasn't thinking at all about doing cheesesteaks. The only reason why it happened was because my parents ended up moving into LA with me.
Oh, your parents moved to LA?
They moved to LA. They moved to LA in 2008, and it was one of those situations where my dad, my mom, literally 2 weeks before, they're like, "Oh, we're moving in with you."
Oh yeah.
So you know,
why did they want to come?
Because
to LA?
the thing in Korea didn't work out.
Oh, I see.
So my parents moved in with me, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm trying to do my thing, right? I'm just trying to hustle, do my thing. But you know, my parents, my family, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
of course.
you know, they moved in with me, and you know, for about a year and a half, I'm doing. I think at the time it was like right after the financial crisis ended, or around that time. I ended up producing indie features. So I left the reality television world because I was like, I can't keep doing this stuff. It's just horrible. I was doing Bad Girls Club too. I think that was like the last.
Oh yeah.
Show I worked
so
on.
much fun.
No, bro, it's kind of demoralizing.
You're living Ryan's dream.
Yeah,
Like,
dude,
you wish he was
like,
working on
don't
the
tell me
real
you
world.
ran across America because you just did everything more than Forrest Gump over here. Jeez.
Not at all. So no, but the reason why I say all this stuff is because my parents. It wasn't because of me that I'm doing cheesesteaks. It's because my parents, my dad specifically, one day he was like, "Where can I get a good cheesesteak?" And I was like, "You're not gonna find one." So at this time, I think I was doing my second or third indie feature, and I was producing it. It was awesome. I was like having the time of life, but I was broke as hell. You know what I'm saying? You know, indie features, indie stuff is there's no money in it, but I was doing it because I was trying to establish my resume and all that stuff.
Sure.
And then my dad started getting crazy. He started like looking out for different locations. He had this broke down Avalon he bought for like $500. My dad,
You bought a car for $500.
He saved up some money for $500. Got
yeah.
an Avalon, dog, and he started driving around LA looking for a spot. He's like, "What do you think? What do you think?" And I was like, "Oh, that place is cool. That place looks good." And then he found that one spot on Fountain, and he's like, "This is a spot." And I was like, "Oh, that looks pretty good." And I was like, all right, cool. And then my dad was like, "I'm going to open up a cheesesteak place here." And I was like, all right. He's like, "You're going to have to help me." And I was like, all right, cool. You know, I mean, I figured my dad knew what to do. And
Because he was already doing that in
he
Philly.
already knew how to
so
do it.
He was already a cook, so he's already
Yeah.
had like experience in this.
And but I have no experience in terms
Yeah.
of opening a restaurant. I
Right,
worked in a
right.
restaurant.
Yeah.
I get it. But I didn't know what the hell was going on. And so I, fortunately... My dad, like, it was fortunate in the sense that my dad had asked me, and I was like not doing much, so I was like, all right, cool. And then all these things started happening, like, you need to get this permit, you need to do this, you need to do this, and I was like,
Whoa.
my dad literally came to me, he's like, "So there's a couple problems." I was like, "What?" He's like, "So we have to get some sort of permit." I was like, "Yeah, of course." And he's
Right.
like, "Okay, you're gonna have to help me." So. A thing that I felt like it was just going to be me helping out.
Is your
whatever.
dad pretty Americanized at this point? Like his English is solid?
No.
Oh, okay.
But he's Americanized. He's not traditional Korean. He's very like American in the sense like he wants to like open up a business.
The American dream.
Yeah, but I mean a lot of Korean parents can be like that, but he's like on another level.
He's like entrepreneurship. Like
Yeah.
Always thinking.
He's more of the I need to open up business. He just doesn't have like I was the behind guy that has to do all the other stuff behind it. You know what I'm saying? You need to have a guy that's like the dreamer, right? A person that has the ideas.
Right.
And that my dad's more of that.
He's the visionary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was just more of like, all right, well, this is all the stuff that we need to get done, because we're not gonna get it done by dreaming. We got to put the steps into place. Sure. So then, you know, we had to get an architect, and I was like, we don't got no architect for this. And I was like, what are you talking about? You had to draw up something. You got to pay an architect. I was like, hell no. So I went and literally got a big ass piece of paper. I remember doing scales, like scale drawings in school. So I took like dimes and made tables with dimes. I would like freaking trace it. I did all this tracing with my fingers. And I got that shit fucking.
You made plans.
I have it at my house.
That's
dog.
crazy. My dad's an architect, so I
Dude,
know what you're talking
have
about.
no idea how ghetto it was. I took literally dimes, and I had a dime. I traced it, and that was a table 1. You know what I'm saying?
No, I've seen my dad use some weird things to make certain buildings and stuff
Yeah.
on his drawings, so that's dope, man.
It was so ghetto, and I got it passed. Somehow I got it passed, bro.
Wow.
So crazy.
LA City,
But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get it done. So
the building inspector's like,
he couldn't argue it.
Yeah.
I was like, everything's where it's supposed to
as
be.
long as it's as long as
Yeah, exactly. Did it look great? Hell no, it looked horrible. But I got it done. So, anyways, I had to get all this stuff taken care of, and next thing you know, I'm sucked into this. Like, I'm in the mix. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I gotta finish this off. At least get my parents' business going. This is supposed to be like 6 months or whatever. And then at the time, I remember I was talking to someone about, oh my goodness, what was her name? She was an influencer. She was one of the first influencers that did the makeup thing.
Is it
Asian?
Michelle Fan?
Michelle Fan.
Yeah.
So I had a friend of mine, he was a cinematographer for Michelle Fan. I guess she got some sort of contract to do something in Paris. And he talked to me about it. I was like, hey, bro, I freaking lived in France, homie. Like, put me on. I could produce things. He's like, all right, I'll get you back and forth with her, whatever. Never got an email, never found out what was going on, whatever. And I was like, all right, cool. This is my project that I do as soon as this cheesesteak thing is done. I was like, that'd be great to get working with Michelle Fan or whatever it was, right? Producing a project from her. I think she was like some makeup company that was producing or paying her to do something in Paris or something. So I was like, all right, well, let's make this happen. But nothing happened. Nothing materialized. And then we opened in November of 2011. And it was me, my mom, my dad, and then we had another partner. And the business was us 4. And we would have like 20 people walk in one day and be like, yo, this is crazy. 20, 30 people, awesome. We had to write our tickets out. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm going to do marketing, passing out flyers, or whatever we had to do. And then February comes along, and somehow LA Weekly came through at some point and put us on as a sandwich of the week.
Dope.
But I wasn't aware of it. We had no idea. So then one day we had a line out the door.
You were like, not
Which location was this?
The Silver Lake.
Silver Lake. Oh, so
Silver Lake. You only had the Silver Lake at this point?
Yeah, we only had that one spot. That was all we had. So we bootstrapped the whole thing. The whole business was bootstrapped, like no money. Okay. And so we bootstrapped it, opened it. Like I said, LA Weekly came in, and then we had to literally. It was insanity. I can't explain it to you. Like,
were you stocked for that amount of?
We were stocked, but it was like we were literally when we first started that business, we would handwrite our orders. That's how ghetto it was. Like,
I mean, that's
one.
Well, I mean, but you can afford to do that. You were
also
scaled
during
at that
that
point.
time, like 2011 was the POS like with the apps and stuff wasn't popular. So
it wasn't that. It wasn't that crazy.
I mean, y'all were like a small business.
We were small. We were literally doing everything manually. Right. Had this old school little, what's it called? Register thing. Yeah. I can't even know the word
POS.
Register.
It was called a register then. Now it's called a point of sale.
No, now it's called a POS. But there was back then a cash register.
Right.
And you had to, type it in. Whatever. And so then we were like, okay, we need to move fast. And so we ended up getting a credit card machine set up with the new, like it was like at the time it was like the tap, like the screen, it was a POS, but it was a very like basic version of it.
Rudimentary version of it.
Yeah, but we had to do it. We upgraded, and we were like, okay, cool. And then we were able to get tickets so that we didn't have to write it out anymore. And that was when I realized, hey, man, this is kind of getting crazy, And it was crazy because I was working with my parents. I never worked with them like that. I was always working at their stores, cleaning their place, taking their boxes or whatever. But it was like we were working as a team. So that was really cool that I got a chance to work with my parents as an adult.
Can I ask you? I'm sorry, because I work like I've done family business. Were they chill about it? Were they like respectful? Were they cool about it? Because I feel like
we fought all the time.
Oh, well, obviously that, but I mean,
we always fought, dude. Like
okay.
It was
okay. But also, did they ever experience this level of business when they did their stuff?
They did. So when they had the clothing store, I mean, they were making money, but it wasn't like crazy money.
There weren't lines out the door.
Yeah, this was different.
Right.
This is different because clothing store, people come in, 4 or 5 people, whatever, they buy stuff.
Sure.
But this is a line. Like you have to service them quickly, efficiently, And I didn't realize people in LA like to wait in lines. Like I hate waiting in line.
Yeah, somehow they're down
It's
for
the
it.
craziest shit. But when
Yeah.
I saw the line, I was like, all right, cool. I gotta get the food out and make sure it gets to them quickly and it comes out hot. That was my thought process. So, we tried to do everything we could to make it an efficient process. We worked on it. And that took us to 2011, 2012, 2013. And then in 2014, that's when we opened the Koreatown spot.
Yeah. That's the first time I had it, actually.
Yeah, about 2014.
Oh, you had the K-Town?
So I would always see booze going by on Virgil.
Yeah.
But I told you at the time, I thought a certain thing of cheesesteaks, and then I tried it, and I was like, what is this? This is whack. So I never had the actual, or the versions of, the Whiz-It style.
Yeah.
So I was just like, and that was what drew me in, was I had it in K-Town, and I was like hungover. And I had it, and I was like, oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I went, I knocked out for about an hour, and I woke up, and the hangover was gone. And I was like,
wow,
this is the
Boo's
best.
Boo's Philly cheesesteak is the cure to a hangover?
It is a cure to
what
the
you're saying?
hangover. Like, I could, like,
It's greasy food.
you're gonna fall asleep.
Yeah.
You're gonna fall asleep for a little bit, right?
Yes,
but you're gonna have the best nap ever.
Yes,
You're gonna wake up without a hangover, and then you have like a quarter sandwich left because I can't eat.
Yeah, it's tough to eat. I mean, it's a lot of food.
It's a lot of food. So you'll have that little left for when you wake up, you just
there
eat
you
it
go.
and you're good. Yeah.
There it is.
That was my process. So that's how I met. Because my wife now, she lived on Kenmore, the apartment right around the corner from you. So we would go to your apartment, and the Philly,
K-Town spot?
yeah, the K-Town spot, and it was like the best hangover.
So now your parents, they believe in the vision. They're seeing lines out the door. They're probably not used to this, and it's a family business. How did that turn from family business to be like, let me take over this thing? I mean, how old are your parents at this time?
They were like late 50s, early 60s.
Oh, okay, so
they're starting to get up there.
Yeah, but like still,
and I'm
fairly youngish. Yeah.
Wait, are you an only child? We didn't.
No, I have a sister.
Oh, one sister.
I have a
okay.
sister. Yeah, she's a younger sister. She's also in LA as well.
Okay.
And so yeah, they were about, when we first started business, they were 59, 60 years old. They're in their 70s now. So now they're not really around. Obviously they're older, so they're kind of like semi-retired. My dad still wants to work, but it was more of it was a slow transition because, my parents weren't always there, and, they couldn't always be there because they were tired. I tried to get them out as often as possible. And then I kind of saw, hey, we got to start doing social media. We got to start different types of marketing. And, we ended up going to the forum. So I was really in charge of logistics in terms of how the store would operate. I had to learn about HR. I had to learn about, a lot of things that I didn't learn about doing any of the prior things I was doing. So it was another learning phase of, hey, how to run a restaurant business. I spent hours and days reading and watching like Shark Tank, restaurant. It was a restaurant. There was a show about restaurant bar rescue.
Bar rescue.
Oh yeah,
bar
dude.
yeah.
I love that show.
I learned so much from watching that
Yes.
show. I would try to read up on everything from business and as much as I could and learn on my free time. And so that's what I was doing. I was like, all right, cool. Well, if I have this in my situation that I'm dealing with right now, this business. And by the way, I wasn't even complaining because it was our business. It wasn't like I was working for another company or whatever. It was our company.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, well, this is what I have in front of me right now. Let me take it to the next level. Let me do what I can do. And so that's why I spent the last, 10, 11 years doing. And that's where I'm at now. So it's just all these things that happen in my life. I don't know where it's going to go, but I just know that whatever I do, I'm going to do my best at it and give it my best and make some good relationships. And I think that for me, I feel like that. It doesn't matter how people perceive this to be or whatever. For me, I feel like I made it in my life. You know what I'm saying? I feel I made my success myself because I know everything I've been through and all the challenges I overcame myself. So I'm good. Like, I don't have anything to prove to anyone because I proved to myself that I've accomplished my goals and I've overcome all my challenges.
So you've been in the K-Town location on Wilshire since 2014, you said?
Correct, yeah.
Well, okay, so you did that. And then, fast forward what was it, 7, 8 years, we hit a pandemic.
Yeah.
How was that for you? How was COVID and navigating through that? How did you learn how to pivot and like shift things to survive through that time?
So that it was kind of crazy. We'd hear the rumblings for about a month or two, I think January, February, and we'd turn on Netflix and all of a sudden the top 20 movies, top 10 movies were all pandemic movies. I was like, these guys are trying to scare the shit out of us, right?
Yes.
And then March comes around, and I remember like the NBA shut down, all these restaurants were shutting down. My guys were scared, genuinely scared, because.
Did you guys shut down?
So we shut down for a month.
Okay.
And during that month, well, I told my guys, I was like, hey, listen, I don't know what's going to happen, but we need to shut down because you guys don't even want to come to work. Because they were genuinely scared. We weren't sure.
No,
I was scared. I was scared of my parents.
Yeah, we're all scared.
So we're like, all right, cool. Well, let's shut it down for a little bit. And I was like, all right, cool. You guys go on unemployment. Do what you got to do. We'll make sure we have some money set up. And then, I went and applied for all those grants and programs or whatever to get to have just in case. I didn't know if it was gonna be 3 months, 6 months. We're gonna shut down. And then I think about 2 or 3 weeks after we shut down, I was like, all right, cool. It looks like we're gonna be able to get out of this. So I was able to just say to myself and my team, hey, we're going to end up opening, I think, first week of May. Who wants to work? And some people didn't want to come back. Some people were kind of scared. Some people got COVID. And so I was like, man, I had to build a brand new team up from scratch pretty much. We had a couple guys that I relied upon. So we opened up Silver Lake first, but we had to hire like a bunch of new people too as well. Obviously, it was kind of crazy because you had to wear masks.
Yeah.
But... Oh, I'm sorry. We opened K-Town first. K-Town, it was crazy because everyone wanted to freaking eat something besides, whatever they made at home or fast food or whatever it was. Right. So K-Town opened up, it went crazy. Silver Lake opened up, went crazy. So we went back. We just basically went cashless, and we're like, all right, online orders only through emails because I wasn't sure how many people we can get back to work, But fortunately, we had all those PPP programs and all that stuff that we applied for, and basically went to fix anything that we could, pay my guys, whatever I could, in terms of making sure they felt comfortable, making sure we had masks. We had constantly get tested. That was freaking annoying. Buy new tests and stuff like that. But, we were able to survive the craziness. And it actually worked out for us because it made me realize that, hey, always look 6 months or a year, 3 months, 3 years, 5 years ahead and see what's going to happen. Obviously, we couldn't tell what the pandemic was going to come, but now, we're completely cashless, and a lot of people were frustrated with that. But at the same time, we had to make a change. We had to make a pivot, and we had to see where things are going. Yeah. And in 3 to 5 years, everything's going to be cashless or near cashless. Right.
Yeah.
We're like, all right, cool. We'll
basically there now.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to have to just take the pain now and just do it now. So we just said, let's do it now.
I actually remember when we started to, we were able to order through the apps and stuff again. I remember me and my wife, I was like, oh shoot, booze is on the thing. And then we ordered it. And it was like these little moments of getting the food that we love that we couldn't get, and then they opened up again, that made us feel like normal again, or like feel like it's gonna be okay, the normal, like the normalcy or whatever, like came back. So booze was definitely on the list of for us to like really like feel. And again, I was hungover, so it was like, it was the best.
That was definitely a lot of drinking.
That might not be the best marketing for booze. It's not just for people who are hungover.
It's delicious, but what I'm just saying, it's really delicious. But it's just, it is. It does
help with that.
It does help with that.
It is a cure for the hangover.
It is a cure, and people drink, so
You know what I love about what you're saying is, when something happens that you don't expect, right? Like no one expected the pandemic. For the people who are still alive to this day, none of us have ever seen this ever happen in the world, right?
Exactly.
This is like unprecedented. It happened out of nowhere, and no one has a formula to be like, okay, well, when this happens, you just do this. So literally, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who has sort of figured out life as you went. I mean, you went from boarding school thinking that you're going to go Ivy League. You went to France. You were like translating. You're doing commodities, bro. I'm just going down your resume. You went from T.G.I.Fridays, Blockbuster Video. Working at the real world. Bro, you did everything. So all of that, I feel like as you're talking about this journey, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna support my dad's, like, yo, okay, let's do food. Your pops was in Philly Cheesesteak. He's had that experience. Like, okay, I want to support this vision. Your parents
it started from him saying, "Where can I get a good cheesesteak?"
Yes,
exactly.
Yes,
that's
exactly. But mind you, all that question. And then your entire life experience prior in your now you're like what, your early mid-20s, right? And you've experienced all these things, and so you're now learning something from each of those experiences. So I think what you're developing is this ability to be resilient and have tenacity. It's this like, okay, no matter what happens, I'm gonna figure it out to like make it work. So when this pandemic that no one has ever expected, no one has ever experienced, when it happened, you were like, yo, you were probably kind of built for that. Because you're like, cool. Not that it was easy for you, not that you had a game plan, but you just were like, I am used to this in my life. I've always figured out this new way to move into this new place. And it's not easy, and it's often uncomfortable, but you figured it out. And like, bro, because we have all heard and known of so many businesses that actually shut down.
Yeah.
Dude, a handful of my personal businesses had to shut down.
Business, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, those are some things that like, I'm like, dude, well, it is what it is. It's not, there's no shame in it. And sure, of course there's disappointment and things like that. But those who've been able to figure it out, especially food and beverage, bro, like, I know
that's hard.
Some of my favorite food places are not here anymore. I'm like, what happened to that place?
What is 2 to 3 year like lifespan on average? Like they'll make it for 2 to 3 years, and then if you can get past the 3 to 5 years, and then like that's a big thing in the restaurant business. So
and you've been here. When did the Silver Lake one open?
So 2011. So almost 12 years.
12 years, man.
Yeah.
That's not easy in LA, bro. And you're bringing a concept that's not even LA native. You're bringing Philly to LA.
You know what's funny is that, but the thing is, like, people know what a cheesesteak is,
right?
But no one really defined it out here. There was no definition of it.
Can you define it for us?
I mean, booze. That's the definition of it. But in terms of like what a cheesesteak was, we defined it in the sense that, hey, this is what a cheesesteak should look and taste like. And my goal was, all right, if we're going to do this, let's keep it real. And so, we had the bread coming in from Philadelphia. So we have Amoroso rolls. So having that as a big part of it. We have our steak shipped in from there that we chop up. The ribeye that we use, that's from Philadelphia. Cheese Whiz, obviously staple. We get our American and provolone. We get it from Philadelphia. Like, we do these things that we can do to keep it authentic. That I know. So there's so many people from Philly out here that if I did it wrong, I would be looked down upon.
Right.
And I was like, I can't.
For sure.
That's how I got introduced.
I can't live with myself. I can't live with myself. So there's that part of it where like people are gonna check you like, hey, bro, are you really from Philly? And I gotta do the whole thing. And they're like, oh yeah, you are from Philly. And then like, we have this whole thing with people from Philadelphia. They'll come out and be like, oh, we heard about y'all here out in Philly. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna be doing this thing with the Eagles in October. With a bunch of influencers from the
Eagles?
Sorry, bro.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry, bro. Ryan soft spot.
Okay. More info coming. We're trying to get this stuff together, but yeah, I mean, that's part of it, but also I think the way we represented booze is that it's authentic, it's real, and I think that's part of what cheesesteak is. It's that authenticity of, not just being from Philadelphia, but hey, it's just good comfort food. We're not cutting corners. We're not microwaving freaking like at Subway or anything like that.
Yeah.
No, we're coming with a grilled grill. We're chopping it up. We're doing it like we would do it in Philadelphia, made by people that actually made cheesesteaks in Philadelphia, and that's as real as you can get. So we define it in that sense. And then so I think that makes a big difference for how we approach that. And then you apply that to anything you do, whether it's dance or whether it's whatever sport you're in. That definition is what makes you successful, or what brings out that authenticity to what you're bringing to the table, and that you don't even have to say anything; it's just there. So I think that's a big part of it.
You know what I think I see in what you do. Not only your food's bomb. That's like a given. Yeah. What I see about you as a person, you are about the community, and like, you know, you're talking about you living in the Korean real world, and then you've had your adventures in K-Town and meeting the community and trying to understand like, yo, okay, I'm out here from Philly, but you've been out here for over 20 years now.
Yep, 21 years.
21 years. And I think that's the magic in staying power. Like, let's just keep it real, bro. McDonald's is not the best hamburger in the world.
It's not.
But why is it like the most known? It's because it has staying power. There's something about the ethos or the messaging or this, like, when you think McDonald's, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Founder. The movie's freaking great. It's good. And it's a crazy story of like, yo, this guy who's not even the founder, who somehow took the name on because he was able to create the message. It's like, McDonald's is family. McDonald's is America. And not to make it about like just fabricating a story.
Yeah.
I think what you did, bro, let's just talk about the American dream, bro. Your parents immigrated here from Korea. They put you in boarding school because they're like, yo, we need to give this kid the best education. The only way we're going to do that is putting him in the best educational system as much as they thought. And they're like, okay, he's primed for Ivy League, and then if he does that, then he's probably going to become a lawyer, doctor, whatever it is.
Yeah. Politician.
And then you go and do your thing, and then you figure out your own path. And like, okay, like, yeah, I don't know if I'm for that. And then like you make the move. You have a G in your pocket, and you're like, I'm gonna go pursue film. And I don't even know how your parents felt about that. But my point is you took all these things that your parents thought like, okay, we want to prepare our child for greatness, and they probably had an image of what that was that very much differed from probably what you ended up becoming. But that is the American dream, at least from what I mean, maybe that's the Asian American dream. Yeah. You don't necessarily have to fit into this mold of what your parents thought. Because, bro, I mean, like, I know for a fact my mom didn't come from Korea to America thinking that my son's going to be a dancer and podcaster. And, like, but I'm like, I figured it out. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you came here and you probably had these, like, dreams for me. But those dreams that actually happened in me, they evolved and they changed into something that you probably had no idea was even, like, a possibility.
Yeah.
And so what I'm hearing about you, like, you know, bro, you had so much opportunity to go pursue literally anything, because you did actually at least a version of a lot of things, but you decided to pour it into something that you're like, you know what, like, this is close to home. My dad did this, and to make it out here in the food and beverage industry in LA, to have 2 locations successful through a pandemic, bro, that is a feat to be celebrated, man. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not easy to do. And you know, when I actually just recently met you, I've known of Booze because I'm like, I see it all the time. I've had it before. I'm like, I don't know who the guy who owns this thing is, right? And then we met last week. And then as we're talking, and then, you know, I was like, yo, bro, like, so, like, what's up? What are you trying to do? And you were just, like, talking about you wanting to sort of, like, enter into different spaces in terms of, you know, having more narrative and conversation about even whether it be business, whether it be about K-Town and community building. Bro, you're literally on Wilshire and what is it, 6th? Alexandria.
Between
Wilshire. I'm like, bro, you are literally in the heart of K-Town. I pass by you guys every freaking time I'm in K-Town.
Yeah.
And what I respect and love about how your mindset is framed is you want to keep pushing for more. Not like I want to scale and open up another location. But you're just like, yo, I've been a part of this community for over 20 years. And like, I want to give back. I want to understand who lives in this space now. Like, what is life like now post COVID, now that we're kind of coming out of this, this sort of weird thing that we all experienced.
Yeah.
And bro, I just want to like acknowledge the fact that like there's a trail of breadcrumbs here that I'm like I'm following. I'm like, yo, dude, it all started from like how you were brought up, but then you were like, I don't need to like go this conventional route that my parents were like, this is what our son needs to do, and you're like, I am doing that, but it looks like this though, and you're successful at it. Because I want to say, to survive here in LA doing what you've been doing for over 20 years, bro, like that's not easy.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do. So I want to just acknowledge you and give you your flowers for that.
Yes.
No, thanks, man. No, appreciate it. Hey, but I will never take full credit. It was definitely like our family and my team, and there's so many people around. You met Jackie; she's part of the team. My parents, my sister, William, and a bunch of guys that without them, this is not even possible. So, there's definitely, and that's where I feel like you need to have a good team, a good group of people around you that are gonna support you and be there when you need them, but also you're cheerleaders, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can't do that by yourself all the time. I got lucky. I'll tell myself all the time, I'm lucky to be in this position, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still hungry, I'm hungry. So I always think about what to do next and, find out what's going on in K-Town, especially because I know K-Town's, like you said, K-Town changed a lot.
Changed a lot.
It changed
And it's still changing. Yeah. It's still changing.
I'm trying to understand what's going on in the neighborhood because K-Town before and K-Town now is so different. I'm like, man, like I'm trying to do more outreach, but I'm saying there's like brand new people in the town. Obviously, a lot of people that used to work in the office buildings, they're no longer there. Right. They're working remotely.
Yeah.
So,
that was a big part.
Yeah, it was a big part of our regulars. Right. So then I had to figure out where are these people at, and who are these people that moved into K-Town,
Right.
And that was a struggle because, a lot of people left K-Town, a lot of people left LA. Right.
Yeah.
So I got to figure out what's going on. So I've been, doing all the social media. I just recently started doing all the social media, and I haven't done the social media for like 5-6 years. But I decided to take it over again because I was like, I need to understand. I need to know what's going on. I can't just push it onto someone else.
Totally.
So there's been a lot of like self-discovery the past couple years during the pandemic and after, finding like the guts of the business and where it's going to be. And like I mentioned, hey, where are we going to be in 3 years? In not only in LA but in society in 6 years or 5-10 years, right? So I'm like thinking that far ahead, and so that's really been the discussions I've been having with myself, people around me, like, hey, what's going to happen next? What's the next steps here? Because before I wasn't so involved with, politics and understanding. I mean, I did obviously to some extent. You had to, right? Like, man, I went down this whole rabbit hole of leadership. When I started this business, I was like, at some point we had like 35, 40 people working for me, right? And I was trying to understand how to get people to follow me and listen to me. And I was listening to Rogan's podcast, and I listened to Jocko, and I went down the extreme ownership, like leadership stuff, and man, that whole rabbit hole was crazy because it introduced me to all these like military doctrines and books and things I needed to learn about how to lead men and women, obviously, in as a leader. That was a crazy thing for me to learn because, you think business is all about, hey, got to run it, got to make money, but you got to learn how to lead manage people,
it's
but
all
also
about
lead
people.
them.
It's all about people. It's only people, really.
And so that was another thing that kind of opened for me where I was like, man, this is really interesting stuff when you start to break down how people respond to the way you look, the way you talk, the way you're able to communicate, things of that nature. And so that's where I started trying to implement these little things that I try to do throughout the last 5-6 years where, you have to stand in front of your team, you have to communicate to them. Those are things that I didn't get to learn really when I was younger because those tools, they were available, but it wasn't like the internet was there. Yeah. But now that the internet, especially the last like 5-6 years, with all these podcasts and books and different types of influencers from every different area and fields that you could think of, I've learned a lot. And so now that's where I've kind of spent a lot of time figuring that out as well. So that's been really interesting. And then trying to apply that into my community in Koreatown and Silver Lake, especially because it's just such two different neighborhoods. And you know, I always try to talk about business as well with a lot of my friends and people I know, trying to get them educated about how to, you know, take more initiative and learning about the times that we live in and what's going to happen for them and what route they should go. So it's just all been such a cool, crazy experience. I mean, it's been crazy, but at the same time, I feel like it's really interesting times too as well.
Well, you know, I like. I mean, for one, I'm somebody who owns a Philly cheesesteak restaurant. I don't know how you're so fit. I mean, like we just learned that we're all kind of the same age. So when you talk about when you're talking about this sort of like, you know, militant approach, you know what I mean, to like get your mind under control, get your physical body under control, and then know where you're going. Bro, I think that's so important. I mean, that literally those are the keys to life, right? If you don't know why you do what you do, and then how you're gonna go about doing it, if you don't have a system in place, you're kind of just wandering. You know what I mean? And the fact that you're still doing it, you've been out here for 20 plus years. You know, you have these very staple, iconic restaurants that I feel like if you know LA, man, you know Boo's Philly Cheesesteak, you know what I mean? So like, I mean, for y'all who haven't tried, man, y'all need to go and check it out. But bro, like it's so cool to get your mentality and that's why I love hearing that origin story, because I'm like, yo, there's always a start. Like, where did this come from? And a lot of it comes from parenting, right? Like, you know, the way that we grew up, the way that our parents raised us, or our experience in our, you know, younger years will shape us to become who we are today. And I'm excited, man, because you know, when we met last week, and just kind of even you being down to be on the podcast, and like I'm like, you got a lot of stories, and there's a lot of people out there who want to do what you are doing. You know what I mean? There's so many people out there that like, yo, man, I have this idea, I think I have a good product. How do I do it, and how do I like stay in the game? You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of you know, your life experience that a lot of people can learn from. And so, man, I'm so stoked, because I know that you have ideas of like events that you want to do, and kind of bring more people together, like in IRL sort of community events and things like that, and do whatever we can do for the podcast to support
and not only
y'all.
that,
like,
you've gone through how many years? Over 10 years working with your family, and you're not crazy and killing yourself. Like, you can teach a lot of people how to do it, man.
I think he wants some advice for
need
himself.
some advice, man,
He's
because-
been.
Well, hold on. I gotta thank you. No, first of all, I watched your podcast with PK, and then I remember hitting PK up because I was like, hey, I would love to be on this Conversations podcast, and I hit you guys up. Thanks for having me on.
No, I was like, I remember, I responded, I was like, hell
more.
yeah, we love booze.
Yeah, let's do more. This is just one of many, bro. Like that's why we did this. Like, literally, it's called Conversations. It's stuff that, like, you know, us as Asian American people who have grown up in whether it be here in LA or what have you, there are certain things that only we know. If we grew up in Korea, like, bro, like, we're Korean. We're just Asian, but like, no, we are Korean American. There is a very different, unique experience that Asian Americans, when our parents immigrated from whatever country that they came from, and then you were born here, you are now dealing with their ideals of where they came from, and then you're dealing with like, well, this is the world that I'm growing up in, and there's a lot of like conflict. There's a lot of just like, I bring this, and then I'm meeting it with this. And we're now having these unique first time experiences that there's so many people out there that this is how we grew up. And I think it's so important to have these conversations, because if you and we think these things, or we've experienced these things, there's a good chance that there's at least one other person out there that like, yes, finally, like somebody who's talking about it in the way that I've been thinking about it, or how I've experienced it. So these are very, very valuable conversations, bro. Thank you for like spending some time with us.
No, thanks for having me. It was awesome.
By the way, you're the first and only other Eagles fan that's ever been in my house. And you know what? Can I tell you, man? You're amazing. You're kind of changing my view
Do you
on
accept
things.
him?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, cool.
He's actually making me want to accept the other
Look
Eagles
at
fans
that,
too.
dude.
Some of them are
Peace.
tough, but
Peace. That's what we're
No,
here for. Peace
but
and
listen,
unity.
I'm accepting of things, but listen, my man, like you
He
can't
said,
wear the-
like, we can't cross
I mean, but
that
no,
line.
but I mean, but
No,
you see
yeah.
other Eagles fans, I'm telling
no,
you,
they're
get-
pretty.
They get crazy. They get crazy.
And we talked about my ex that I dated, and you know, she got mad at me that I didn't record a preseason game, and we got in a fight. We didn't talk for a week. I was like, "Whoa, these Philly fans are serious.
They're serious.
They're serious.
And listen, and I even told you, like, I love sports growing up. I love watching games, and yeah, even during the pandemic, I just don't watch as much sports anymore. It's been a hard transition. But
Well, they're actually good now. The Eagles.
yeah, that's the crazy part.
Yeah.
They're all good, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's just because like my business, and then obviously I've been doing jujitsu and doing all this crazy stuff with my personal time, so I haven't had a chance to watch any of the games. But I know the Eagles are doing fantastic. I can't believe it. It's crazy.
Nah,
The
nah,
last
nah,
couple
I
of
mean,
years
they're-
have been doing awesome. So, but during like I said, I just been really focusing on how I can improve myself. When I turned 40. I gotta tell you this story. This is crazy. So I turned 40. I thought I could still hang with the drinking. I literally remember, like, I think we drank at my house or whatever. We got hammered, and I woke up the next day, and it was like the worst hangover ever. It was the craziest situation where I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, hey man, like I can't keep doing this anymore. I gotta change this. So I can't keep doing this. It hurts so bad.
Yeah.
So. That 40, like when I hit that 40 and that happened, I was like, man, things got to change here. You know what I'm saying?
This guy doesn't have
But I still
it.
drink. Don't get it twisted.
He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that. He's 21. He drinks a lot. When we drink a lot. He goes home, boom, bounces up, works out, does a couple of miles for the marathon, like. And
that's what I'm saying, man.
Weird,
It's probably a gift and a curse, bro. It's not.
We
not,
do 23andMe and see what you are, like real.
he still doesn't think I'm like full Korean.
Oh shit.
And I get that from a lot of people.
Yeah.
But that's another conversation.
Well, hold on. With the marathon, so when's this marathon you're gonna
It's
do?
in October.
In October.
Beach, right?
October 15th, the Long Beach Marathon. So I'm
Hum is doing it too, but
I'm stacking on my miles. Right now,
Nice.
stacking on my miles. Yeah.
Are you ready to go now? Or
Not yet. No, I haven't been doing my long runs because I'm learning that I need to be. There's a thing called time on feet, right? Like, you can have the endurance, but if your legs are not used to running for a duration of time, aka like if I'm not used to running for 2 to 3 hours, like how am I gonna run? I mean, a good time to finish a marathon is like 4 hours. That's like a good time.
Yeah.
And I want to try to get it within that space. So I'm like, yo, I gotta get used to being on my feet for like 2 to 3 hours to run at that level so that I know what it feels like. So I haven't gotten there yet, but I will get there. I still have like slightly less than a month, so I got my run in today, so I'm like, I got a good what did I do today? A little less than 6 miles today.
you want to be there with signs, you know what I mean, and maybe a shot and a burger.
Yes,
I don't know, something.
and a burger and a Philly
a
cheesesteak.
beer, not a shot, a beer.
Beer
Right?
and a
That's what-
cheesesteak is what I need.
Cheesesteak, yes.
That's what I need. That's
Wait,
what I
so
need.
after this marathon, are you trying to go to like?
Nah, I'm not trying to be one of
does
those
that, he
ultra
does-
marathon or Ironman guys. I'm like, let me just. I've done the half marathon. That was 2 years ago. I did the Rose Bowl half marathon. I'm like, all right, I gotta do at least one full marathon. So this is the time. So that's what I'm going for.
Okay.
I have no desire. I don't need to do that.
You're like, nah.
I don't need to challenge myself and do that anymore. I've run miles. I've done a couple of miles. I know what it's like.
In your life, you've done.
I know. No, yeah. In my whole life, I've done only a few miles.
About a couple.
No,
of
but I've
laps.
done the track and stuff. I've done cross country. I know what it's about. It's the same thing. Your friends are
Yeah,
there.
same thing. Yeah.
I'll be there for you though. I'll support you.
It's
I'll have
okay.
beer.
I'm not trying to force you to do anything, bro.
I mean, I'm not.
I
You're
want
not
you to
forcing
better
me.
yourself.
Vero's forcing me. So
Vero's forcing
because
you to
Vero's
do
like,
it.
we're gonna be there. And I was like, I mean,
Oh, to show up for my thing.
yeah. I was like,
Oh,
everybody.
sick.
But I was like, everybody.
Of course,
runs.
your wife would want to support me versus my best friend actually wanting to support me. Your wife wants to support me. Like,
She's the money. She's the money. She gives me the
she is the
approval.
money.
So I was
She
like,
is our boss. Also.
yeah, she's our boss. And
Yes. And
no, but of course, it was actually my idea, and then she was like, she kept it alive.
so you're gonna.
It was my
hold
idea,
to
and
your
then she
word.
kept it alive. She was like, holding me to it
Cool.
now. So.
All right, October 15th. I better see you at the finish
Wait,
line.
you said October 15th?
I'm not gonna be there. I can't. Sorry. I'm not gonna be in Korea. I come back from Korea.
Okay.
So.
You have an excuse.
You have an excuse.
He has no excuse.
I have no excuse.
But bro, I've been looking at this lump of.
Oh yeah. Hold on.
Oh yeah.
I feel like you brought something for us, man.
Here you go, guys. Got
Oh.
some hoodies.
Oh.
Some hoodies.
Oh,
Thank you, here.
For the
jeez. Hold on.
Conversations
Wait. What size? What size you got? What
These are all larges.
are these all? Okay, good.
I have some nice larges.
I love that it's thin hoodies.
That's what I said earlier too.
It's like
Yeah.
more of like it's like
bro.
Look at
a
that.
fall hoodie.
Let's
Look at
go.
that. You got the
Boom.
the skyline right there.
It's got like Love Park. You got the Rocky
Love Park,
statue.
yeah.
And then the realest is on the arm.
You got the Rocky statue.
Yeah.
Oh, the real. Ooh.
And the realest has like little LA iconic landmarks.
Oh.
There.
What?
Because I got the realest from.
Okay, that's Santa Monica, right? Or is that Coachella?
No, that's the Santa Monica.
Oh.
the what's it called? The wheel.
The realest.
And that's right here. That's the City Hall building, right?
Man's Chinese Theater.
Oh, no, this one right here. The big building right there.
Bro.
Is that man?
No, I think it's
Thank you,
Man's.
man.
Oh,
Yeah.
my bad. Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Dude,
Thank you so
Like
much.
restaurant, like apparel.
This does not look like restaurant apparel to me.
Yeah, no, I wanted to make it kind of like
Bro.
streetwear, so you could
yeah.
No,
wear
this is
it.
legit. This is legit, dude.
You
Thank
wear
you.
it around.
This is dope. The
Thank you,
little,
bro.
The little.
I'm about to rock
with
this.
the-
And we are now entering the fall season, so this is like
Yeah, I
perfect
think
time.
people are gonna like
Perfect
it.
I was
time.
looking at the one.
You guys would love it. Well,
Yeah,
thanks.
Rocky right
Dude, I
here.
love it. Rocky's like one of my favorite movies of all time, dude. Yo, Andy, man, thank you so much for hanging out with us, bro.
Oh man, thanks for having me. Again.
Your story is it's
Yes.
inspiring, man. Like I think it doesn't come at a better time because I think we are like as a society we're trying to crawl out of our COVID holes. You know what I'm saying? And like a lot of people are trying to bounce back. And you know, I actually was talking about this even during the pandemic, like in like 2020. I'm like, yo, this is not the worst of it. The worst of it's gonna happen when it's the aftermath.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the 2 to 3 years after this time of lockdown, we're going to see the real repercussions of like what happened, and to see that you've been able to survive through it and still maintain and still thrive. And then now you have these plans to like build even more and focusing on
Expand.
building the community. Bro, that's the stuff that personally inspires me. And I love the fact that you are able to share that on a platform like this.
Yeah.
And with our audience. So thank
And
you
we're
so
down
much
to
for
rock
coming
with
through.
you in the future for, you know, you guys, if you need some guest hosts for like an event, or if you guys do a cooking event or something.
Ryan's
you
a
know?
great cook.
No, but once again,
Not the
thanks for
cheesesteaks,
having
but-
me on again. I really do appreciate it to talk about our business and the story. And definitely, you know, I would love to hang out with you guys, bring you guys in
Oh,
for
we're
some
hanging
events and
out.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're hanging.
And
We'll go to Blue.
we're gonna do some. we're gonna try to do some cool stuff this year, and I'm trying to figure out all the social media stuff, but also like events at my spot. We have this thing called Booze at Booze. We have some beer sampling and things of that nature
Yeah.
on Saturday
There it is.
afternoons. Play some music, but these are all things that we're trying to figure out to bring people together. You know, we're right there on Wilshire, so a lot of people. It's a central location. It's right.
So it's
near,
on Wilshire and Alexandria.
right near
right?
Wilshire and Alexandria.
There you go.
It's
Right
a central
under-
location.
And
What
if
was
you're
it?
in Silver Lake, that's what is it? Virgil and
Fountain and
Virgil.
Virgil, that's the
Fountain and
one,
Virgil,
other
yeah.
one. And so yeah, I mean, would love to collab with you guys and come up with some fun stuff to do.
do
But
it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
but once again, thanks for
How
having me
can
on.
people follow the journey? Are you guys on social media?
Yeah, social media at Booze Philly, Twitter at Booze Philly, Instagram and at Booze Philly for TikTok. My personal one's at Pureahn, Pureahn. You can follow me there for like I have some interesting stories I tell through my Instagram. Nothing crazy, but just like fun stuff. Like I just killed like a hornet's nest.
What?
I don't know if you saw that. There's like a thing on TikTok where you like take the gasoline and you
Oh yeah, you light it up. You
put it on
yeah.
top of it and they just all die. So I just did that. That was kind of cool. Actually, it does work. The hornet's
the
nest thing.
Wait, you just shoot gasoline without
no,
lighting
no.
it?
You put gasoline into a cup, and
Oh,
then,
and then
you have to get underneath the hornet's nest, and
The
then
hole,
you block it. All of a sudden, the fumes
The
get into
fume.
the
Oh, yeah.
the hornets, and they all just drop dead. Boom! Right into the gasoline.
I thought you should just light
It
it.
actually works, but that's like fun stuff I
Yeah,
try to
yeah.
do at work.
All right.
Nice.
But yeah, they can follow me there.
Yeah, we'll have it on there.
And yeah, I mean, our website, boostphilly.com. You know, check us out. Our most popular one is our Instagram, so at Booze Philly. So just check it out.
And
We
booze is BOOS.
Yes.
BOOS.
Not booze as in the booze you
Yeah,
drink
yeah.
to get
Not
drunk.
Exactly.
Z, not
BOOS.
BOOS.
Like,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. We'll plug all that in the caption, show
We'll
notes,
put it,
all that good stuff. Dude, Andy, thank you so much for hanging with us, man. It was a good time. We'd love to have you back and keep chopping it up, and we look forward to rocking with you in your future events and all the good stuff, man.
Thank you guys. Likewise.
Yes, sir. Folks, thank you for tuning in, watching, listening another episode. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. Follow us on our socials.
Which are Conversations
There it
_
is.
pod all around the board.
And we're on YouTube.
Conversations _ pod.
That's it.
All around the board.
That's it. That's
YouTube,
it.
Spotify, and Apple.
Let's go. We
Let's
appreciate
go.
y'all. We see you on the next one. Peace. Conversations. We out of here.
Peace.